All right. There it is. There it is. Hold on one second. I need to move things around because mic is attached. Everything's been good. What's going on, world? Matter of fact, what's going on, world? Forgot about that. Damn, my hair's getting long. I might have to go Monday. I might have to set up an appointment on Monday just to get the haircut, and get things a little more whatever. But we running wild out here. We're running wild out here with the hair, just in general. I'm gonna give you a couple things, man. I'm gonna try to pace myself a little bit. Speaking today, I want to sit there and speak freely. You might hear some windstorms outside. I don't know how well the mic's gonna pick up all these things. I think they pick up mainly within the actual vicinity of where I'm speaking. So you're gonna hear me gulping and shit like that. Pause. So you're gonna hear a bit of everything. But we in a little. It's a weird time of day. I should have been doing this a little earlier. As you can see, it's TTH 205 TTH, the Truancy hour 205. You know what I'm saying? Those that want to play with the game, play with the name, go ahead and try it. Let's see what happens, man. The whole point is this, man. I've been saying this in the past couple episodes. I'm gonna keep saying it right now. Sometimes you have access to these university spaces right here. You know what I'm saying? All around, whether it's right here, whether it's the next spot, whether it's the next block, whatever it is, man, you might have access to that stuff. You might even have access to the whiteboard. You might have access to a couple of these what do you call these, man? Dry erase markers for the whiteboard. But this one's a little, like I say, I'm grateful because even though this one I had to go over twice just to make it legible. But I'm still gonna write on it regardless using the same thing. I might use green. Let me see if green is working. Green works pretty good actually. So since green is working good, I might use that. It's a little heavy, and it's probably better. Excuse me, if I use the other thing. I actually prefer being in the other room because this is not good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to grab a little thing in the other room. It's all right. We'll take care of it later. Um, the whole point of university spaces and places and just understanding that is like a lot of times you'll feel good about yourself finally having access to university, a college, a vocational institute, a technical college, things along those lines, things that create a sense of certifying yourself or validating yourself or even giving you some form of degree. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So anything that kind of does that for you, it'll probably validate you. It'll give you a good feeling about yourself. But I'm here to let you know, man, this is the university mindset. And I say when I talk about the university mindset here, university mindset is no matter where you go, you're validating yourself because you know the degrees of things that you can handle and the degrees of things that you already have handled. You understand your own personal threshold, whether you can sit there and actually pinpoint it or not. You understand? And based off of that, you can certify yourself. So I will say, like, just be careful when you walk outside thinking that, oh, I need to have a certain educational level. I need to have a certain whatever pay level, pay grade level. I need to have this thing in order to validate myself as a human being. Because a lot of times we place a worth on ourselves that's based off of a number. We're basing our worth based off of a certain minimum wage number that has nothing to do with the personal, spiritual worth, what your heart is, the type of heart of a person you have. Some people I know, they go to the grocery store, they might see a family struggling or just a homeless person that might want a meal, and they just go ahead and grab them something. The way the heart isn't valued sometimes when you're sitting there getting a job or getting validated for school. It's not necessarily valued. There's certain people that can sit there and vouch for you and say that, hey, this is a decent human being, they deserve a scholarship, etc. Whoop de wop. Yeah, there's some truth to that. But at the end of the day, like, you got to be able to remember that you were there every step of the way for the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I'm saying? So you need to start certifying yourself. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to be big headed and egotistical, but that kind of goes into what I was talking about today, man. What I want to speak about today, actually, what I want to expound on. I want to expound on this a little bit. We're going to keep this as the pink dry erase marker. Yeah, why not? Why not? But I want to talk about two main things, man. It's really just, you know, a lot of times the ego is there just to protect you. You might be going through something and you don't want to lash out, and out of nowhere you start lashing out just to defend yourself. But really, you're just defending. Your ego is sitting there kicking in sometimes, defending you from a situation where you might look down on yourself. You know what I mean? It's a situation like someone might be trying to demean you or call you out of your name, call you a bitch or something crazy. And a lot of times, a lot of us, I think the majority of us know that we're not bitches. The majority of us know that we're not really like the lower versions of ourselves that always get called out by people who want to talk shit or joke around. Let's be honest about it. A lot of us know that already. But sometimes we get so bruised a bit that sometimes the ego kicks in. You start cussing this person out. You start getting out of character and then really turning into someone you didn't want to turn into. You start turning into someone who's apologetic afterwards. But the ego is important at times. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to I don't want to say you want to kill it necessarily. Yeah, you want to kill it. You also want to keep that bay. You want to have control of yourself, control of your ego. You want to know with the time and place when it is to kind of, control that. It's the same thing with combat sports, man. You want to be careful. You're sitting there, sparring with people, rolling with people, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is in your particular art or your practice, right? And you got to have a level of control so that way, a good sparring partner is a valuable sparring partner. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that's always been said. So let's talk about this, man. What creates that thing? It really starts with trust. So we'll say it's trust, but we'll also talk about the ego. Now I'll tell you something about trust, man. Trust is a really interesting thing because sometimes here, actually, I found a little nozzle thing right here. I don't know how well this is gonna work, but you gotta sit there, replant it back in. May or may not work. Yep, there it is. And then we got the rag on the side. They ain't even got no new rag. They just got this janky ass old one, man, that I was using last time. Yo, come on with that. Make sure everything's nice and clean. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything's nice and clean. So we'll talk about the trust and the ego. Well, let's talk about trust a little bit, man. My first note, I wrote something very specific, but I kind of want to expound on that because it does kind of get into the beginning, if not the genesis of certain things that were really interesting to me in my own personal childhood. But I don't know, man. I don't know if childhood is the right word. I will say like it is something I adhered to, but it's also something I went through a lot. Basically, what I wrote was here, just so you know, I ain't bullshitting here. Boom. All right. Friends' parents not trusting me and me having to stay outside. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Check this out, man. I don't know how it was in your neighborhood, but it was a very respectful thing to just ask, like, hey, you knock on somebody's door. I'm gonna just use my name, but it's just like you knock on somebody's door. It's like, hey, is James home? And then they're like, who's asking? If you don't mind me asking, and I'll be like, I'm James too, which is funny because I had another friend named James, which is funny. But anyway, then I would just stand out there and wait respectfully. And sometimes, a lot of times, the parents and the siblings, if they knew me, they'd be like, just come on inside. But sometimes with certain parents, they'd be like, nah, you wait right there. Now here's the thing: they have every right to not trust me because, especially if they're not used to me or if they don't know me that well, they're just like, man, who is this random kid? Why does he look that way? Whatever. I've been getting profiled since I was a kid. I say this a lot, where like, I just know within my heart, I was raised by a household where it's like, hey man, you try to stay out of fights unless you're getting provoked. Let's be honest. Stay out of fights, stay out of trouble unless you're provoked. You know what I'm saying? Don't go out there starting no problems, no trouble with anyone. If you're provoked, yeah, go ahead. You got to defend yourself. But other than that, don't go out your way like that. So for me to constantly go to people's houses and go to people's neighborhoods or whatever, and constantly being treated like a criminal or treated like someone who wasn't shit, constantly getting demeaned, it's like I had to be strong. Listen, you know what I'm trying to say? Like I had to be strong mentally to just know like these motherfuckers always gonna treat me a certain way. They're gonna see me a certain way no matter what. And sometimes there was a protection behind that. You understand? That's where the ego comes in because this whole time it's like I have to like sit there and gain people's trust. So anyway, let's go back to this thing. I'm knocking on the door. I say, is so and so home? Who is it that's asking? I was like, it's James. Just let him know I'm his classmate. And I would respectfully stand outside, but there's some people who will constantly treat someone like a criminal. They'd be like, what I mean, I don't even want this motherfucker in the house. I knew a kid, man. I knew this dude in high school, but I didn't know him that well. And the thing about it was, I got to know him a little better after we're all kind of graduated or whatever. The thing about it was his dad would always assume that like he would say all this crazy shit. He didn't want to drop me off home. He didn't want me in his house. He'd always say this weird shit. We came in smelling like weed one time, but this kid, his son was the one that was smoking mostly, and he was the one hooking us up with the weed. And the thing about it was, I might have had like a zip or something on me, like just in a backpack where you could barely smell it. But we just had it on us because we just got done smoking. So right away he goes, I smell that flower. I don't want that in my house. But he's being real loud about it. That's what the dad is saying. He's saying this shit as soon as we walk in, and then he's over here laughing, but I'm like, hey man, I gotta go because I don't know if it's the zip on me. I leave, come to find out they're still smelling that shit, and his dad had to live with the fact that it wasn't even me really. It was just his son or whatever. They just had I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I did have a loud zip on me. I just had it on me. You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it was, after a while, what I'm saying, he realized that and the other side of it was, I thought that my friend would have been defending me in the long run. I thought he would have talked to his own dad and defended me. Like his actual girlfriend started defending me, which was interesting. His girlfriend would kind of be like, no, it's not them. He doesn't even smoke. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times I wouldn't even smoke. I would just be around sometimes. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'd be around people. People would defend my name sometimes, but this guy had it out for me all the time. He would say all this crazy shit. He would talk about people robbing houses and joining gangs and doing all this weird shit. And I'm like, I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with that. My whole life I had nothing to do with that. I might have had friends that gang banged. I might have had friends that sat there and robbed houses and shit like that. And I was aware of these things, but I was like, listen, man, I don't know why they doing what they do. But I'm always gonna be that friend that's gonna sit there and be like, listen, man, let's try to dial it back when you're ready to talk. Because sometimes some people ain't in that mood. Some people in the mindset like, yo, I need some forces behind me. I need some people behind me. I need some protection. You know what I'm saying? Pause and all that. Because the thing about it is, they might need all that just to feel comfortable in their own skin because they're getting jumped and fucked with every day, depending on the school campus or the high school that they're going to. You understand? Sometimes people go to schools in different neighborhoods and it be like that. They just end up being a part of certain sets. So I understand why they ended up doing what they did. But anyway, like I said, when I was a kid, I respectfully would sit there, knock on the door, say my name, say my piece, and I would respectfully stand there because I'm like, listen, you got a stranger coming in your house. I don't care if that stranger is 10 years old, 13 years old, 14, 15. Kids out here be robbing and shooting shit. They've been doing that since forever. They're doing it right now too, to a heavy degree. So I get it why you make somebody stand outside and wait, and then you confirm with the actual kid or your actual son that yeah, that's my friend, that's my classmate. This is someone that can be trusted. You understand? But I was also being respectful to try to earn people's trust because I'm like, you know, whatever. My whole thing is my experience with my dad's friend that was sitting there not trusting me at all. And the funny thing about it was my friend was trying to be around me because he thought I was a positive influence in his life. He was like, I like the fact that you ain't never did no crimes. I like the fact that you stayed away from weed. The first time you smoked weed was with me. I was actually my first time I smoked weed was with him and my homie Tone from Baltimore. Like they all came in from out of town, and I was like, you know what, man, it's gonna be my first time actually like intentionally like hitting on the joint or whatever. Because the other times I might have caught contact or I might have ate an edible on accident. You know what I'm saying? That's about it. Or I had like some surgery pills or something like that, some hydrocodone, taking more than necessary throughout the day for the pain or some shit. Shit, things like that. The whole point I make, I'm trying to pay attention to them lights. Let's see who out here. Matter of fact, let me open the door. Let's see what's going on. What we got? Nada. All right. Had to check the door. That's where the trust comes in, though. That's where the trust comes in. It's interesting. He was saying all this shit to me, and it was interesting because I'm like, I like that he trusts me. The fucked up thing was, man, shout out to my guy, man. I still got love for him. I'm just sad that like things fell apart the way it did. But it's also like there's this weird thing that started happening where he would constantly get robbed. He got robbed his whole life before I even met him. You know what I'm saying? People running up in his house, so I understand why his whole family's on edge. So that's in that moment in time, that's when I kind of learned and realized I'm like, you know what, man, I'm over here trying to gain people's trust to let people know that I'm a good person. But at the end of the day, it's up to them to make that commitment, whether they want to trust someone younger than them or trust someone that they just didn't trust in the first place. Plain and simple. You understand? I had a friend like that. He would constantly keep in contact with me. It was like every month, every week, he would just try to stay on top of keeping track with me and all this shit. And it felt kind of weird. I was like, either this motherfucker on some weird shit or he just constantly doing it for the purposes of our mutual friends, or like, hey, you talk to him better. See if you can reach out to him and keep him within the organizing space. That's what I thought mentally. Kind of find out when I'm spending more time with him, like we're able to just kind of connect, and sometimes we would just talk, and even there was days where like days and weeks where I wouldn't even respond to him. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I just clearly forgot. But the fact that he just stayed on top of it and was like, yo, he thought of me as someone who was younger than him, and he wanted to just look out for me because he's an organizing person. He's an organizing activist type of person. So he was just like, I mean, I always looked at it as like you were someone younger than me. You seem like a cool person. I wanted to look out for you. That's all it was. And he just kept stayed in touch, and he just stayed in touch regardless. He didn't push the whatever. He just let me know like, hey, bro, I'm in town. If you're cool to hang out, you want to chop it up, you want to grab something to eat, man, let me know, man. It's good. It'd be good, nice to catch up. Hey, man, I'm over here in town going to so and so's funeral. I'm going to so and so's whoop de wop, and like he would constantly do this shit. This is like years ago. So like in more recent times when I realized he was there for me, and I realized that when I was going through shit, even like relationship issues, and I was able to call this dude at like midnight and crazy shit, and he would pick up the phone. I was like, man, that's a solid friend. That's a solid friend right there. That's the solid few. That's the solid friends right there. You know what I mean? So I never forgot about him. Him and one of my cousins. Shout out to my cousin Val. You already know what that is. So my whole thing is this, man. That's a solid few right there, and they know who they are. Um, but a lot of times it was that same trust on my end where I'm like, I realized that him imposing his friendship or him imposing the way he carries himself as an activist slash organizing person, it kind of threw me off because I was like, man, it's funny because I'm the same way towards other people. Maybe not for the same reasons, but I'm the same way. So I understand, like, okay, I get it now. So anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is I have a different type of gauge for trust. Like, you know what I mean? Like whether I want this person in my life or not, I'm just like gauging it. Some people want to constantly do things for you so they can gain your trust, and then they want to be that trustworthy person that gains points with you. And I'm very mindful of that because like I don't allow them to get points. You know, does that make sense? I don't let them score on me. That doesn't sound, you see what I'm trying to say? That doesn't even sound right. That's very possible right there. That's very possible. So I don't even go there with that shit. So my thing is like, yeah, you want some weird shit? It's all love, bro. But at the end of the day, it's just like I gotta keep a little distance from that type of shit because I don't understand what that trust gaining thing is all about. I don't understand why you're going that hard. So anyway, I say all this as a full circle thing because, like I said, as a kid, I was trying to gain people's trust because it's like the whole time I've been treated like a criminal, constantly being treated like a criminal. It was just like, yo, keep that kid outside, keep this person out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I get it, I understand. Then you start going to different neighborhoods, you start going to certain grocery stores, and it's just like I'm constantly here, respectfully waiting in line, respectfully saying good morning to certain cashiers. These are people I grew up seeing as a baby, as a kid. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? When I was a baby and a kid, and I was with my mom, they would talk to me like I'm a cute little kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, how you doing? You want a piece of candy? All that shit. And it's a trusted community. It fucked me up because I'm like, I started getting older. I started getting a little mustache and shit. You know, motherfucker got facial hair. Start getting taller. Start dressing a little differently. Start wearing the snapbacks and shit. Whatever the fuck. Just wearing the hoodie. It don't matter. But then these people started treating me disrespectfully. It's like the same people that used to say hi and good morning that felt so welcoming and warm to me. I started coming through your grocery line, and all of a sudden you start talking to me. You know, you don't even talk to me at all, actually. They had one dude, he just stopped talking to me altogether. There was one lady, she stopped talking to me altogether. I'm like, damn, we all from the same community. You act like I'm doing shit out here. Because the thing is, if they actually would have got to know me, they'd have been like, hey, he's going to do his little sports program after school every day. He's trying to stay out the motherfucking streets. And that's what I was doing. But they would treat me like I was a fucking criminal all the times that I was positive. Excuse me. Anyway, point I'm making is this. I was going through all that shit. Push came to shove. I damn near had to, matter of fact, I'll be right back. Hey, see, that's what I'm saying, bro. That's only like 2 minutes when you think about it, because I had to go all the way to the water fountain. Whew. That's a long walk, look. I had to go water fountain. You know what I'm saying? Go out the door, hit the water fountain. I had to badge back in. I had to pull the badge out, badge back in, come around, and then hit the little lock on the door just to come back in the little conference room over here. But anyway, the whole point I'm making is, like I said, you know, throats have been kind of dry. It's that season. It's fall. The sicknesses are starting to culminate around me and shit. I'm on the bus. I'm on public transit, so I don't know who I'm around sometimes. But I find myself getting a little sick. But I'm trying to power through the speech here. I was a young kid trying to gain everyone's trust, and then all of a sudden I realized, like, you know, me just trying to talk to people. I don't know if they seem a little weird. I don't know if it's whatever. I don't know if me stepping out my own comfort zone sometimes, man, is if it was helping or not. Because some people, you realize, whether it was the people that worked at the grocery store that seemed to turn their back on me. I'm a young person trying to, like, yo, I'm here. I'm in this community. What we doing? What we talking about? I'm saying people, that kid, you know, his dad didn't even know that he was doing a lot of troubling shit, smoking weed and making the whole house all weeded up and all this crazy shit. All them people I wanted to gain their trust, all them people I wanted to know, like I was like hey man, I don't do none of that. I'm just a good person. Like I'm trying to be a good person out here. I'm just trying to conduct myself in a very positive way. I'm trying to do this organizing thing here. I'm trying to do this sports thing here. I'm trying to do something here. You know what I'm saying? But some people just not gonna like you, man. You understand? And that's just what it is. Some people just not gonna like you. So you got to trust the fact that, like, hey man, back to university mindset. What I'm trying to say is that you understand who you are. You understand how you should be treating yourself and how you ought to be treating yourself. And the way you treat yourself and the way you ought to be treating yourself is way more important than how these other people should treat you, because they don't owe you nothing. You understand? They owe you nothing. Trust the fact that they don't owe you nothing. So you won't have to expect anything from them, but expect greatness from yourself. Expect some great shit from yourself. Expect that you can get over the shit that you're going through right now, whatever the fuck that is. And that was my issue, because as a kid, it was just like I didn't have the trust within myself yet. I was looking for it from people that were constantly treating me a certain way. It's funny, because even like if I go back to before I was in school, I was this angry kid. Even when I was in elementary, I was this angry kid. And it's just constantly like, hey, he's got anger issues. Be careful when he gets mad. All this shit. And sometimes I would try to contain him and be like, listen, man, that's why I'm over here breaking shit. And I'd rather hurt some tables or punch a fucking desk, because it's like, you know, a wall, a desk, whatever, a cubby or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather do some shit like that, because it's like I'd rather not do that than hurt someone else. Last time I really got in a fight was like fourth grade, and before that was kindergarten. So there was like a lapse of, 1999, 2000 to '04, and then from '04 to 2020 or 2021, yeah, 2020, something like that. So there was like a 4-year gap, and then there was a 16-year gap. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to say, I'm trying to keep my hands on my fucking self. I've been always trying to keep my hands on myself. Last fight was fourth grade, right? After that was 2020, pandemic time. Started the pandemic. Motherfucker talking crazy. I swung hands with him. Goofy shit, just goofy shit. But there was a 16-year gap where I tried to keep my hands on myself and out of trouble. I'm talking about street fights, all that shit, street fights and all that. You know what I'm saying? Just keeping my hands on myself. And it's like no one's gonna recognize that shit. No one's gonna believe it, and it's not up to them. Fuck them. You understand? That's the type of person I am. But what I'm saying is, before, when I was a kid, it's just like they're constantly like, "Oh, be careful, he's an angry kid." My cousins, my aunts, uncles, "Oh, be careful, he's whoop de wop, whoop de wop." But at the same time, I'm like, I didn't come out the womb angry. Where did I get that from? See, this is the thing. We didn't have an analysis back then in the '90s. We didn't have an analysis of self. We didn't have therapy to really sit there and be like, man, the kids bugged out, because the parents would be bugged out on them. They take out their emotions on them. They'd be smacking the shit out of them, beating their ass, and then what I'm saying, throwing. As for my particular things, like, they threw me in the closet till it was time for lunch. Threw me in the closet till it was time for dinner. Sometimes I'd be in there in the morning. I'd just be waiting for a minute, and I'd just be sleeping in there, just sleeping in the dark. There's a little closet space that we had. I wasn't Back then. I wasn't tall enough to reach the doorknob, and when I was tall enough to reach the doorknob, they jammed a chair underneath the doorknob. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So it's like they'd throw me in that shit, and I'd be next to these fucking potatoes, and I don't even know if there's like spiders or bugs next to me, because it's a closet space that you go through the door, and then you walk through the small hallway, and then you go to the back door, which goes to the back porch. That shit was like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 different locks, because they didn't want no one breaking in the back door. 2 or 3 different locks. There's like one up top, bottom, and then like a little middle one or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? So they had like 3 different locks. I could barely reach that shit. I don't even know how to work this shit. And even if I could, I wouldn't be able to run out in the back porch anyway, because the shit was too high, and you have to have certain like locks and shit, or like keys or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm trying to say? So they would just have me stashed in there in the dark, like slivers of light through the little stained glass kind of window, or like the little, look like a prism type of shit. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like a clear window on that door. She used to be fucked up, man. But that's what I went through. That's my upbringing. So it's just the fact that, like, emotionally, I'm not going to be 100% there like a normal kid. And I would just sit in there lashing out all the time. So then there was this trust issue between, like, hey, be careful, he might lash out. But I'm like, it ain't even my fault that I'm constructed or even built this way. It's actually very fucked up the way that I'm, what I'm saying, the way that I was formulated, if not raised. I'm just being fair. I'm just being fair. You know what I'm saying? I have to be fair to myself, because the whole time I'm like, back then I used to think about it and be like, man, it's kind of crazy, because even though I went through all that shit, I was like, yo, I'm still grateful to be alive. I'm still grateful that my parents and my grandparents were still there for me, because they were still feeding me, even though like I was putting that shit. It wasn't like they were starving me to death, but it would feel like that some days. It would feel really like that some days. Because it's really interesting, because it's like my older brother I grew up with, he's a fat kid. He's always been a fat kid. He's a fat motherfucker right now. that motherfucker's fat as fuck. But it's just funny because like I've always maintained some level of skinniness, so it's just funny the fact that he never was put in that situation, and he was able to eat as much as possible, but I was in there waiting to eat. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's just funny like that. It's just little shit that I observe. So it's just like when he makes comments about that shit, that's why I was ready to beat his ass. You know, the funny shit where I'm like, you think that's funny that because siblings will sit there and make fun of each other's pain. I think that's fair that siblings make fun of each other's pain because it's like, you know, you'll sit there and clown with each other about, hey man, remember that time you went through this? Remember this time you went through that? But my whole thing is like, damn, if I'm the only one going through it, I don't even think it's funny, and I don't even think you guys understand the level of mental fucked upness that created for me. But here I am, still trying to, master therapy, master content, doing a whole lot of things. I'm probably the first person in this family that's financially literate. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Because saving and putting shit away, that's simple, that's easy. Having shit for a rainy day, that's easy. Everybody does that. But being financially literate in different spectrums of finance, what I'm saying? I might be the first one. So it's to come from that shit, I congratulate myself a lot. You know what I'm saying? Not to be big headed, but I just look at myself, I look at my life and be like, hey man, yeah, I trusted the process, I got through it, I got it. Why wouldn't I keep continuing to trust in myself? Why wouldn't I continue to tap into that university mindset of having a love for myself and certifying myself and validating myself because I understood the degrees and the different thresholds of things that I had went through and handled. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Like you got to tap into that shit. This is the trust, man. This is the trust shit that I'm trying to tell you. Is like I went through all this, man. I can't make this up. Just little shit that I went through as a kid, little shit that the family would treat me a certain way. You know what I'm saying? I literally had an aunt that was living. She didn't live next door, but she lived in a nice. Excuse me, I said Weiss. What the fuck? Nice white neighborhood with her white husband, who's my uncle. But it's just like by marriage. But it's like raising my cousin over there, and she didn't want her son, my cousin, to be raised around us. He's like, oh, them kids is a bad influence over there. We don't, we're just minding our fucking business at our house. We never, and she wasn't wrong. But at the same time, like, damn, are you gonna talk about these kids like that? That's kind of crazy. So anyway, it's been like that since I was a kid. Up until elementary, they're like, hey, be careful with his anger problems, be careful with the wops. I'm over here always constantly being careful, keeping my hands on myself. I might snap, I might break some shit. That's about it. You know what I'm saying? Constantly keeping that shit at bay. But I always got this like level of temper and emotion that I'm always like working with. So I'm making sure that I don't snap on anybody. I gotta trust the fact that I'm able to keep it at bay, keep that beast and monster at bay, turn that beast into some art, turn that beast into some content, turn that beast into some form of philosophy, if not content creation, things that I say out loud. That's why you hear me speaking passionately as much as possible, whether I'm hitting the live stream or the pre-recording. That's why you see me putting in 3 to 4 hours a day on the gaming shit, because it's just like, hey man, I'm constantly getting the content, the hours in. Don't act like I'm not putting the work in. I'm constantly doing this for other people. I'm constantly putting the energy and money into other people. Let's constantly put it out, because if I ain't doing that, I'm just gonna sit there killing myself inside, if not literally killing myself, if not hurting the next person. What would you rather I be doing? You understand? We live in a somewhat, I ain't gonna say utopian society, but we have utopia-esque technologies and conveniences around us. And I'm just trying to be the person that's conducting myself as much as possible, because I should be crashing out on everybody. Let's be honest, I should be crashing out on the whole world right now, some pinky in the brain type shit. But realistically, I'm just keeping it upright. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping it righteous. That's what we doing, man. So that's what the trust is all about. I'm trying to tell you about the trust, man. So fuck, but fuck what they're talking about. You want to gain someone else's trust, man. Fuck all that. That's dead. You ain't got to do that no more. My bad. Let's talk about that ego real quick, man. Because I just wanted to expound on what I was saying when I was sitting there. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I think about that moment where I'm just sitting outside. You know what I'm saying? Because at least I'm outside. Think about that. Think about that. I went from being in the, just trapped in this little closet space, saying, getting beat the fuck on by my mom and dad and shit. Mom, dad, grandpa, whoever, just getting beat up on and then tossed in this fucking closet as a little kid. This is all happening before I was 4 years old. I found God in that closet. I don't know if y'all know that, man. I say this all the time. I'm willing to speak on it. I don't give a fuck. I found out a God because I was sitting there. Let me talk about this, man, and then we'll get into the ego a bit. Because it's like, for those that don't believe in God, just check this out, right? This is just me. I'm sitting in there. I'm like, you gotta understand. There's certain dinner conversations. My grandpa would talk about all this religious stuff or biblical stuff, and he would say all these things, and I'm like, what's heaven and hell? What's that about? He said, yeah, if you're a bad person, you do bad things to bad people, etc. He's saying all these things. He said, if you do all these things, these negative things, bad things, you go to hell. And I didn't say it out loud, but I started thinking like, well, what the fuck? Because if they treat me this way, they should be going to hell. So then I started thinking like, is the things that I'm doing to them or the way I'm treating them, am I like a hell-bound person? You understand? Because it's like maybe they're keeping the demons within me at bay. I started thinking about myself as a demon or a devil. I really started thinking that way as a little kid. It's not even healthy. You understand? Even as I got older over time, I would always gravitate towards the bad guys, the bad characters, or the ones that were misunderstood. I started gravitating Gundam Wing to the Hell Scythe Gundam. You understand? Anything that was Hell's related, anything that was Devil this, Devil that, all that demon shit. Like I would fuck with all that shit because I'm like, you know what, man, I fuck with that shit because it's like, damn, that's how them people really get treated because that's how they was treating me. But anyway, like I said, I'm about 4 years old. I'm just sitting here in the closet because I was putting there until it was, I'm putting that shit, got whooped on, got tossing that shit, dragging that. They put the fucking chair underneath the doorknob. I'm sitting in there before it's lunchtime. I'm just waiting. And I started thinking to myself, like, hey, man, if God really exists, man, why the fuck I'm going through this? Like, if God really exists, let me see a sign. I don't know if I said, let me see a sign, because I don't know if that was the right words verbatim, but it was something along those lines. So it's kind of interesting because I started thinking, like, if I'm going through all this, man, I don't even know if God really sees what I'm going through here. Maybe I have to be outside of the house. Maybe I have to be away from the closet. Maybe I have to be within the, what do you call this? There's God right there making them noise. That's crazy. But it's like, I have to be outside. And you know what's funny, man? Actually, we'll talk about that later. Um, it's just interesting. Stop fucking with me. I swear to yo, people be calling at the worst time, man. I swear to God, that shit better still be in there. That shit better still be in there. I don't care nobody say. That shit better still be in there, man. You know what's crazy? I didn't know I could hit the pause button right there too. That's another aspect. But that's some other shit. Anyway, the point I'm making is this, right? I'm over here, questioning God and shit. I think I go through that same thing throughout the week later on. I'm just thinking like, yo, you got to give me a sign. And then at some point, somebody, like, I'm just chilling in there. Somebody opens the fucking closet. It's my cousin from next door. I ain't talking about the white one. I'm talking about the black one. This dude, he's next door. It's my favorite cousin to this day because of this shit. This dude opens the door and he lets me out. And then my mom was like yelling at me, but then talking nicely to him. My mom is yelling at me and talking nicely to him because he let me out and I'm just like ready to go. And my mom's like, no, 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 don't let him out. Because I'm in the back there. Some days I'm just out there just banging on the door, just mad as fuck about shit, just banging on the door. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? I'm just mad as fuck banging on the door. But he came by one day. He wanted to play with my brother because he's close to my brother. So he wanted to play with him, and he just goes there and just opens the fucking back door, and then they let me out, or he lets me out, I should say. I'm running around, and they're like, no, no, don't let him out. They threw me back in, or my mom threw me back in. Just sitting there, like not wanting to deal with me, just threw me back in there, and they didn't want to deal with me. You understand what I'm trying to say? But that's all I needed to know. That's like, damn, motherfucker, open the door. So now here's the thing, man. It's like for those that don't believe in God, it's like, yeah, you can sit there and manifest. You can sit there and just think about constantly getting out of your situation, and if it's a certain situation will facilitate you getting out of that. And for those that believe in God, that is nothing but faith, man. What you mean? Like, come on, bro. Whether that's faith or just like a miracle or something, the way that played out, think about that. I literally sat there, questioned God, and then got an answer. Someone literally opened the door for me for a moment in time before someone who was a lot more, what I'm saying, the way I always put it is someone who's a lot more traumatized and doesn't understand their triggers threw me back in because they didn't know how to handle me. Let's be honest, because like, even though I went through all that shit with mom and dad, it's like I sit there and still understand, like, yeah, they got some shit going on in their life coming from war-torn countries, if not fucked up situations and predicaments. That's why they're treating their kids a certain way. So I always had empathy. It's kind of fucked up. I always empathize with the damn people that was abusing me. Let's be honest with them, even though it was my own folks. So that's a whole nother conversation. But that's where the ego starts kicking in too, because I'm sitting there like, hey, trust the fact that I know what I went through and what I've been going through with all this shit this whole time. I'm knowing. You understand? I'm knowing this shit. I'm knowing this shit. So the ego starts kicking in, like, can't nobody tell me shit. I'm going through this, then the third. I'm aware of it. And this whole time I should have, by the time I start getting older and really start getting nice with the hands and strength, I should have been killed them for putting me through that shit. That's some fucking, what I'm saying, Marvel story shit where it's just like, oh, your parents put you through all that type of shit. Moment you start getting stronger, you just fucking kill them and then go about your day, become a little mercenary or whatever. Some funny shit. But I didn't even do that. I just sat there and I was like, man, trust that there's a certain level of strength of just empathizing with someone that was putting you through that shit, right or wrong. They're just putting you through that shit because they themselves were that much fucked up. So I'm over here, what I'm saying, I'm just going based off the fact that the three generations. So it was like whether it was my brother, but at the same time it was more so mom, dad, and then grandpa. So that's like the two generations above me, right? And then also the trauma of like just having an older brother, like what that person will put you through, and just having other people around you with what they might put you through. So just three generations of different forms of trauma and bullshit, and just understand that like I'm encompassing all that, and then there's trauma that came down from generations before them that was put onto them, and they're just kind of re-inflicting it onto the next gen. And I'm over here like, no, we're undoing all that right now. Trust that I'm undoing all that right now, and I have the right to have an ego about that shit. You understand? So anybody fucking with me, this is not to be funny. This is just to be truthful. Anybody trying to fuck with me on some funny shit like, hey man, you doing this goofy ass podcast nobody hearing about? Hey, you doing these video game shits that nobody watching? Hey, you doing da 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 da? I'm like, hey, but I'm doing something. What the fuck is you doing aside from running your mouth and you about to get robbed? What we doing? You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at right now. It's like people doing this funny shit. Like, oh, you got the, hey, remember when you used to wear this, that, and the third? I was like, yeah, I remember that shit, man. You over here only remember the negative shit, man. Can you see me shining right now? Can you see me successful right now? If you can't, you getting knocked the fuck out right now. You catching the uppercuts right now. You getting your shit robbed right now. You walking barefoot home right now. If that's where we're going with this, let me know. I'm not even trying to be funny. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I ain't trying to go there. But that's how I know, like, the little animal, the little beast is inside. Pause. Because, you know, I'm sitting there trying to be righteous my whole life, this whole time. So this is where the ego flares up. This is where that shit kicks in. Now, this is where it gets kind of crazy. This is my second part right here. This is what I want to say. Hold on, my bad. Let me make sure I'm reading it correctly because I'm kind of nearsighted. I'm kind of nearsighted. I looked at it for a second, but let me pull it up close. You know, zoom in, real life, zoom in. All I wrote was how special and egotistical I felt about myself in past relationships. Now, friendships is one thing, man, because it's like a lot of motherfuckers, they know me. They know what I've been going through. They know my life. They understand what the childhood was like. They knew how I fought through that. They saw what it was like, you know what I'm saying, when I really started boxing and keeping my hands on myself. When I started boxing, I really started keeping my hands on myself. I stayed out of fights. I stopped talking shit. It's funny. I was like, damn, I really got some superpowers here, low key. You know what I'm saying? Because like I was over here training my brother. He's 5 years older. After that, I'm over here training with adults. They're just like, hey, you want to start coming to adult classes? I'm finding guys that are like trying to hit me a little harder, a little faster. I'm like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? Pause on that too. But you know, the whole point I'm making is like, it started to hit me a certain way. I'm like, yo, I don't want to be egotistical. I just understand that I'm on a different level. So I was trying to not be egotistical. What ends up happening is like, you know, one thing I never really had in life, like I said, with like that kind of rough upbringing and shit, you know, just the mix of all that and that rough upbringing. I didn't have too much intimacy. Even my women cousins and the women in my life and family wise, nobody ever really gave me hugs like that. Nobody was really hugging and holding me like that since I was a baby. You know what I'm saying? When I was a baby, I was crawling and shit. And then when I was able to walk and run around, for some reason, when I started walking and running around, I started getting in trouble, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a kid trying to figure out my senses. I start getting in trouble, then I start going through that shit. But as soon as I started to, you know what I'm saying, went from crawling to walking to running, as soon as I started getting to running, all of a sudden that progress started getting stunted because I started getting, you know what I'm saying, whooped on for no reason. Like I'm over here. Like I was actually, like, you think about that. I don't understand why I was getting whooped on. Even I really can't look back and think about what I had did wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it, like when you're the younger sibling and the youngest of all your cousins, everybody's doing wrong by you. They're doing you dirty, and I'm over here fighting back, defending myself. That's all it is. And one thing about people, one thing about it that people don't understand, and I started to understand this in my late 20s. Neurologically, man, they actually did this test. There's a dude, I forget this dude's name. I want to say I forget that dude's name, but he got a beard. He be on Rogan and shit. That's a lot of people. I just explained a lot of people, but he's a neuroscientist type of dude. But he explained something about there's an experiment they had with like rats in a utopian society where they were able to clean themselves and get as much food as they want and bathe themselves and, you know, make themselves look clean or whatever. He said, and they also introduced a variable where they had some rats that were raised in dark isolation. But when I say dark isolation, they weren't raised together in dark isolation. They were raised separate by themselves in dark isolation. So they had like one rat raised in a dark isolated area, and then they were trying to integrate him back into society. Another rat raised in a dark isolated area, integrate him back into society. And what they realized about those specific rats is that, you know, I don't know what the word is, experimentally or something, what they learned from the experiment, that rat, the way they would express themselves sometimes would be in random spurts of anger or like, you know what I mean, very, I don't know what the word is, like the emotions were a lot more amplified. You understand what I'm trying to say? Spending this much time in the darkness, the moment they were able to get outside, the emotions and the energy was amplified. Let's bring this full circle, man. When I was leaving the house, knocking on my friends' doors and shit, I'm over here just trying to make friends, and or I already had them friends, but I'm over here trying to spend time with them, or they're asking me to come over and spend time with them and shit. This ain't no play day shit. This is kids leaving the house and actually being outside. You know what I'm saying? So I'm over here doing this. It's like I'm finally outside. And if I'm spending time with people, I'm having the time of my life. I'm over here being hella extra in other people's households. That's another aspect about it. That's another aspect about it. The egotistical side about it too is like, listen, man, Like I said, I had lacked the intimacy. The moment I started getting the intimacy, these first couple of relationships, I started becoming the most passionate person, the corniest person. I was overly vocal about the shit. I was talking about the fact that like girls liked me finally, type shit. But the real, I didn't even realize they liked me the whole time. Because I'm over here just caught up in my own bullshit, just thinking like, yeah, I gotta do this today. I was like this since I was a kid. I'm like, yeah, I gotta draw this today. I can't wait till gym class so we can play kickball today. I can't wait till we win in kickball today. I can't wait till we beat that other class. I just can't wait to just just win and win at life. That's how I always felt as a kid. And it wasn't until like middle school and like these girls trying to hook up and all this shit. They trying to be my girlfriend and all this shit. I didn't even understand the value of myself at that time period. But my ego started to kick in. I'm over here. Oh, let me check the time right there. Boom, 40. This all better still be recording audio wise. If it ain't, I'm kind of sad because I might have to run it back tomorrow, if not later tonight. Anyway, the way that it started playing out, I'm like, damn, this is the side of life that I was kind of missing, just the intimacy side, excuse me. And I'm sitting there like, I need a little more of this, and I get a little more amplified. One girl pissed me off. I'm over here again, all rah rah about the situation. I'm blowing it out of proportion. You know what I'm saying? Rather, like in my mind, I'm playing it real cool. Like, yeah, man, she on some bullshit for treating you that way. And she on some bullshit for talking about that way. Whoop de wop, all this shit. And I'm over here handling it in the worst way, just like hella, I won't say sporadic, but like, what I'm saying, just amplified. Back to the amplified thing. I'm amplifying the emotions of it. It ain't that serious, but I'm just blowing the shit out of proportion. And sometimes my ego is like sitting there trying to get people's attention out of it. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I'll even be in the relationship and I'll sit there and be egotistical. Like I'll be laid up with the girl and shit. I ain't got time to be talking about no other dudes, but I'll sit there and start egotistically talking about how other girls treated me, how other girls like me, all this shit. The ego starts fucking blowing out of proportion and shit because I was aware of all the shit I went through and the fact that I finally got a sense of self-esteem now that I'm getting my dick sucked. I'm just being honest. I ain't trying to be funny. I ain't trying to be rude, lewd, or just out of the whatever, just like disrespectful with what I'm saying. But just finally getting through some form of intimacy and some sexual contact, the fucking ego started getting stroked, literally. You know what I'm saying? So I'm over just talking this shit like, yeah, man, boom. If I can get it with this girl, I can probably get it with that one. I realized she liked me too. I realized the time that she was looking at me, the time she was saying all this shit, it might have meant that. I should have been asked her out, but fucking, I'm right here right now. But I started getting egotistical with this shit. You understand? The ego itself, man, was blinded by the fact that creeping behind it was just this emotion that was just buried because it wasn't never being taken care of, if not addressed, if not pampered correctly. And it was always, it started, like I said, I started getting older in my 20s. I look back and I'm like, back to the neurological shit. I realized, like, damn, all these times that these girls, whether it's elementary or middle school, and like those like younger years, when they were sitting there trying to penetrate the shell that I had, because they thought it was a shell. It was just me kind of just openly always, I would walk out the side, whether containing my ego, but having a trust that I needed to get things done today. Does that make sense? So in elementary, I was like, yo, man, I know that everyone's saying I'm nice at drawing, but I just know what I got to get done today drawing wise. Like, okay, we're going to do a little schoolwork. I'm going to try to doodle on the side, get some coloring on the side in that free time. And I just had to get it done. But something about that was also attracted to women or like, younger girls at the time when I was a kid. So I get it. But they were constantly like attack. It was almost like I thought they were attacking me the way that they would talk to me. I just thought they were attacking me, but they were just trying to penetrate the shell and get to know me and get closer to me. And I was denying the intimacy. See, the ego was in the way of that shit because it was almost like, hey man, I just know what I've been through and what I gotta do in this life. I know the pain that's in my house, so I gotta get away from that shit. I gotta be professional at something. You understand? I gotta be professional at something. I gotta be pro at something. I gotta be good at something. I gotta get out of this. Because I know when I go home, even though everybody's all handicapped now and fucked up and shit, they can't hurt me no more physically, but I'm just looking at them like, yeah, I gotta take care of them. But I'm also like, I can't be around this depressive ass shit. That's when I started linking depression and anger because they would take out their anger on me back when they was physically able, and all of a sudden they became handicapped. Think about that shit. These motherfuckers used to physically just take their anger out on me, and I'm a little kid. I'm a baby. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Now they couldn't do it, they became physically handicapped. Hey, check this out. Let me cover the mic. Hold on. Talking a whole lot. Ooh, excuse me. So your boys start coughing and shit. That's also God like, shut the fuck up. Leave that alone. It is what it is. Point I'm making is, man, I saw that shit. It was so depressing. I'm like, I don't want to be around this. So I used to work hard in elementary, like trying to be an artist. I started getting introduced to boxing. Same thing. I'm like, these girls trying to talk to me in middle school. They're like I said, they're trying to penetrate the shell, trying to get to know me, all this shit, trying to get through. And I'm like, the fuck is all this weird talking and shit? Why you attack? It felt like I was being attacked sometimes. Like, and it was just something like, that I couldn't tell you if it's the ego or what. Shit that I was used to, I couldn't tell you. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Fuck that shit. Because after school, I gotta go box. I gotta do something real important. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta do something real important. Now I tried my best, keeping my ego at bay. I'm like, I wish people knew that I box, but I want them to find out in the worst way if necessary. But I'm kind of happy that friends found out and they was like, started highlighting, like, hey, this dude really be doing that shit. He really be in Rest in peace, my guy Quincy, man. He was highlighting that shit to everybody. Because Quincy used to fight everybody. He used to throw hands with everybody, but then, I started bringing him to the gym. Rest in peace to Quincy. You guys might have seen me on live streams a long time ago, just hanging out at his steps. When I say his steps, he got shot and killed at them steps. He got murdered on Halloween when we were freshmen. That's my guy right there. Rest in peace to Quincy, man. But he would always, whenever it's me and him hanging out, or I'd be hanging out with somebody, he'd walk up and he would just tap people on the chest like, don't ever fight this dude. Don't, I'm telling you. I was like, nah, man, I don't even want to get. I'm trying to stay out of fights. I told him. He said, yeah, but still, I don't want nobody fucking with you because you're gonna beat their ass. And I was like, listen, man, whatever, man. But Quincy used to come to the gym with me some days, man. He used to come with me some days. This dude, rest in peace to him, man. He used to come in. My coach would be like, you owe me 3 rounds of jump rope. He'd be in the corner, jump rope, and in front of the small mirror, and he'd walk over to me while I'm like trying to get some water. He'd be like, hey, Junior, man. He said, hey, I'm trying to jump rope over here, but I'm hella blunted. Like my lungs is fucked up. I was like, damn, bro, we like 12, 13 years old. How much you be smoking? But that's what he was doing. That's the type of guy he was, man. So rest in peace to bro, man. But my ego comes from just understanding what I'm overcoming, and sometimes what I'm putting myself through. The work that I'm putting, shit like that. You understand? It's real important to me, man. A lot of people not gonna understand it because a lot of people ain't never really did it respectfully. A lot of people never really did it respectfully. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? And I take it for what it is, man. It's just something that I went through, man. It's trusting the ego, man. Back to this university mindset thing, I'm just trying to bring it full circle, man. I can never not love myself. You know what I mean? I can never not view myself any differently. Sometimes I have these weird moments where I knock myself down and I'm like, hey, man, this is why people don't fuck with you. This is why people don't understand you. And I'm like, it ain't even their business to try to love me or fuck with me or whatever, man. It's about me doing that for myself, because at the end of the day, you will get down on yourself if you're trying to receive that from others, if you're trying to expect it from others. You got to do for yourself, man. Back to this university mindset shit. This is what I'm trying to tell you about this shit, man. When you really start understanding the degrees of things that you went through, the threshold of things that you can handle, you can certify yourself. You don't got to walk around here egotistical like, yeah, I'm really like this. You know what I'm saying? You deserve to give me respect. No. You don't walk around certifying yourself to ask and demand respect from others. You just start respecting yourself. You just simply respect yourself. You just simply love yourself. You went through, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm talking to the camera, talking to myself right now. I'm just saying, I know what the fuck I went through, and I love myself, and I hope I never go through that ever again. I hope I never have to put through anyone, I hope I never have to put anyone through what I went through. Plain and simple. If I have kids, I'll never fucking do that shit to them. I hope I never do that shit to them. And I have to embody that. I have to trust that I can embody that. And my ego has to be in tandem with, like, we can be egotistical about being good people. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to broadcast it to the world. Fuck broadcasting it to the world. We just know within ourselves egotistically. It's like, hey, man, you must protect the fact that you're a good person. And people who want to disrupt that peace, fuck them. Either beat their ass or walk away. Beat their ass calmly or walk away. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It ain't that, it ain't that simple, but plain and whoop wop. You know what I'm trying to say, man. There it is, man. TTH 205, the Truancy Hour. 205, trusting ego. Your boy out here kind of dying because I'm, the throat is dry, pause, and I gotta sit there. And I don't know, man. Maybe it's because I've been drinking hella coffee and shit. Also, that's what I was gonna say. I've been eating hella popcorn. I had hella popcorn the other day. I had popcorn this morning. I started choking up on the phone. I'm like, damn, what the fuck? But somebody called during the recording, so I need to make sure this recording is all good. Hey, man, there it is, man. The Truancy Hour 205, 205, man. There was the trust and ego, man. I'm gonna end it right there because we're getting closer to 50 mark. Listen, bro, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. Peace. That little space, I might edit it out, all right? Like about 2 minutes I was away from the camera. I might edit it out, but we'll see. Hey, man, love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. Peace. I'm out.